We are live. Nalini?
Hi friends, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hope you all are doing well, and I welcome all of you to third session of Polygonal, an interactive platform initiated by um, some like-minded community members, Bhargav, Arvind, Kavya, Ashish, and these sessions are intended for learning from our alumni, NID from Gandhinagar, and mainly staying connected. So in this session, I would like you to meet Mani, our speaker for today's session, and who co-founded Greenopia in 2015 with Mayukini, a fellow Canadian, and it was started with the broad theme of making plant care easier. The interesting part here is that it was started as a college project and evolved into India's first crowd-funded uh, IoT smart product and later into a business of its own. Today, Mani will share his story of how Greenopia managed to balance both design possibilities and business realities. He will also share anecdotes from his personal journey and how they realized that design can coexist rather than compete with the business priorities. And one more thing, how to use this platform. So the session will be followed up by a brief Q&A session where you can ask your questions, and you can do that either by clicking on the raise hand icon below the speaker frame, and we shall put you in the spotlight, or you can type your questions in the chat box. So we shall start now. Bhargav.
Hey guys,
Hi,
Yeah,
Mani.
so let me share a screen and then start.
sure.
All right, is the screen visible in presentation mode? Hello?
Yes, yes, Mani, it's visible. Hello.
Okay, so I couldn't hear you. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm able to hear
We,
you now. Yeah.
sure, sir. We will be off screen uh, till you present. Then we'll come back once the
Okay.
interactive part starts. Okay.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Hi guys. So this is Mani. I'm from the 2012 batch, and yes, I don't know for how many it is very difficult to come on a Saturday morning, but it was very difficult for me. I was telling the team that I kept 3 alarms to wake up. Anyway, so today I'll walk you through some of the, some interesting stories that or narratives that we have experienced in Greenopia. And I understand that some of you might be familiar with Greenopia, some of you Greenopia might be very new to you. So let me first show you what we do, the product journey, so that you get a sense of okay, what space we operate in. Then we can discuss the primary story over there. All right. All right. What you see on the screen is a smart pot. The one on the left is embedded with sensors for detecting light, moisture, soil composition, etc. It was a prototype built as part of a design contest that we participated during NID times, and this won some awards. And then we reached we kept presenting in multiple places where we felt this could have a potential to make it into a real life product or a prototype. We didn't think of a company or a business at that point of time at all. We just thought that we shouldn't leave it at this project stage. We should make a real functional product, not just a prototype, and say 100 units, and then see what happens with it. That's what was our idea. I was working with fellow NIDians. The contest was with 3-4 people, but then once when we came to this stage of taking into a product, me and my senior from NID, Mayukini, we were starting this together. Okay, so we crowdfunded for this product. We raised around 20,000 US dollars. That's roughly 10 lakh rupees to make 100 units of this and give it to the backers and see how they use, what kind of data comes in. So we did that, and in early 2015, and with that money we started building the product. And this is what came out of it. Okay. So, so this, what you see on the left top is a self-watering pot, which has a pot inside a pot, which takes care of watering the plant automatically, very similar to how plants are watered in nature through a water table under the land. And then what you see on this this orange and gray color is a modular sensor switch. Okay, it's a sensor which can sit on top of the pot and monitors the plant. It comes with a mobile app and a software with a rule engine which kind of tells how to take care of your plant. So basically the whole idea is to look at people who want to grow plants but they don't know how to, and then handhold them and guide them through technology as well as good product design. So we made this and we gave it to 200 of our customers who backed us in the campaign, and also sold some of them elsewhere. So in this entire process, we realized that we are building product number 5 when product 0 and 1 don't exist in India. Okay, what I mean by product 0 and 1 is we are trying to create a whole holistic plant experience when even simple things like which plant will grow in which light condition, that kind of a documentation doesn't exist in India. So, and we were very keen on building it as a business. So we thought that if we have to do it as a business, then we have to scale down the product, take the essentials out of this product and make product 0, product 1, like that, and then scale up. So that's how we took the self-watering aspect out of this product and created this. So what you see here is these are self-watering planters where there is the bottom chamber, what you see holds water, and then there is a wicking action, and there is a special soil medium, etc., which absorbs the water and maintains the moisture. Up to 2 weeks, you don't have to water it. You water it once in 2 weeks. So this, and we intentionally made it as a desk product because we were targeting working professionals who has a office desk or a personal study desk at home, and we want to target that segment. This was going okay, and we were selling both online and in multiple channels. And what we realized is we saw a particular group of particular segment of customers coming back again and again and buying this. Okay, so we got interested and we slightly probed to understand who they are and why are they buying this again and again. Then we realized these are people primarily working as marketing managers or community managers in large corporates, like say Microsoft, Google, or something like that, where they are buying these as gifts for speakers or VIP guests who come to visit their office. So primarily, this is an interesting segment where for if you want to gift somebody like a CEO of some other company or a CXO, a guest comes to your office, you want to give them something premium. But if you choose a product which looks commercial, which looks you gift a very nice speaker, for example, it may also be interpreted as a bribe or trying to influence them. So for that reason, they had to choose gifts which doesn't look, which looks very friendly, not necessarily like a object of object which can be considered as a bribe. So they usually gift something like a expensive chocolate or a dry fruit. So our product, this self-watering planter, fitted very well into that. So they were repeatedly buying it. This is where we thought, oh wow, here is a segment which is interested, which is keen on getting premium stuff. They're ready to pay a premium price for it. And they appreciate the small nuances that you include. You include a nice welcome card, nice message. You do a very nice packaging. They appreciate all that because that's what sells in a gifting segment. So this is what gave us the idea to enter corporate gifting segment. So we thought we will start specializing in it. And we created a whole lot of products for this segment in the green space. So these are some of our bestsellers in the corporate gifting segment, where we initially started creating premium gifts. Premium is like 1,500 rupees and above is the premium gifting range. And then we moved on to even 500 rupees gifting range for the volume business. So what you see on the leftmost corner top there, it's designed by a lifestyle designer who worked with us. He's also from NID. So that's inspired by the culture of letting this floating diyas during Diwali time. You float diyas on a bowl of water. That culture. So in order to leverage on that culture, we combined that with a plant, And then we did a lot of succulents. We called this thing, the second photo, as a Zen bottles. We did a bit of a terrariums. We did what you see on the rightmost corner is a fridge magnetic planter. So it's a planter, it's a bamboo planter which grows on water, but it's also a fridge magnet. It comes in a neat packaging, which can be sent as invites, it can be sent as delicate gifts, etc. So MI gave that for launch of their air purifier series in India. Lot of and we sell this to a lot of IT companies, IT and software companies in India. So this became largely our bread and butter for a very long time. Okay, because this was giving us volumes, it was giving us good margins. So we kept doing it, and also it had this fun of like one weekend, 2 days, set, design, and then you can launch that product. That kind of ease of productization was in that. Okay, and in all this process, we were very keen on getting three things correct in each of the green gifting. One, of course, the aesthetics. We want to get a certain kind of aesthetics. Second thing was we wanted to make sure whatever we design is easy to ship. Okay, because we were aiming to be a national level company. We want to operate all over India. We don't want to be a regional company. So for that reason, we will pay a lot of attention whether this plant can ship, or the product making, can it be layered in such a way it's easy to ship. Okay, so that was the second criteria. And the third criteria is the plant itself. Okay, is the plant hardy enough? Is the plant strong enough? Will it survive shipping, or will it survive storage? You send it to a conference, there will be excess unit. You don't want that to rot. It has to at least stay good for a couple of days. So these were the considerations we were keenly looking at. So these became materials of design for us. So we got obsessed with this idea of what kind of plants are hardy, low maintenance, or even to an extent, even no maintenance required. Okay. So that exploration took us to the next chapter of us, which is the moss. Okay. So what you see on the left is one of our moss panels, and just okay. I have a sorry for the disturbance. I have a pet dog. Uh, okay. All right. So what you see on the left is a moss panel, or a moss tile. Okay. So moss is a nature's wonder plant, in the sense that it is an aerophyte. It doesn't aerophyte is an air plant. It doesn't have roots. I mean, it has primitive roots only for structural reasons. It does not have roots for vascular regions. It does not use the roots for absorbing nutrients. Rather, it takes the nutrients from the atmospheric air directly. There are approximately 3,000 types of mosses available in the world. What you see popularly as algae or algae in India, in muddy, marshy lands, those are same as this, same family, but this is a European version, slightly more fancier. Okay, so we stumbled on this. We started learning a lot about it. We took a special training in Singapore. Then we explored. We developed some trade networks in Europe, and started bringing this to India, both as a finished product and as a raw material. Then we understood that this can be used in various ways in interior design. So what you see on the right is some of our projects. Where this is malleable. You can cut it into different shapes. You can you can mix colors. You can make a overall pattern landscape out of it. So this gave us a lot of possibilities, and we started going deep in it. And now we have a full-fledged production unit on moss. We almost pioneer in moss in India. So we do projects like these. Okay, so it's on the left side you see a logo. So the moss can be customized to different shapes. It can be it can be a simple color, it can be gradient. All these possibilities comes up, and the market wise, this is primarily used in a lot of corporates as feature walls or reception backdrops. They want that green biophilic design elements present in it. So the timing was perfect for us, and we got in. And this right now, this is our 70-80% of our business is moss. Okay. So this is what we do as a company. This is the breadth of products that we do. All right. Are there any questions at this stage, or shall I go to the?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead. Once your presentation is done, then we'll have a proper session with questions.
Oh, all right. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that's fine. So okay. So in this whole journey, we have tried to balance both business and design priorities and concerns. And we popularly, I mean, internally in Greenopia, we refer to this concept as designing with a small d. What we mean is the capital D of design, where design being there prominently, was the point where we started. We want to do everything in our business deliverable in a designer way. Okay. Um, So right from a business card, right from a website to a brochure, add that feeling in it. It's nothing wrong, definitely. It's good. But what we realized over a period of time is that is a superficial way of looking at design. Okay, design for the appearance of it. There is also slightly a deeper way of design where design can understand the priorities and concerns of different fields, different stakeholders within your own business. I'm not even talking about stakeholders outside. By stakeholders, I mean different aspects of your own business, and how design can empower, modify, influence that aspect, be it a production. I mean, design to improve production, design to improve your marketing capability, design to improve how do you hire people, how do you find the talent. Okay, so design being used as a holistic system to improve each aspect of your own organization is what we found as a more meaningful approach to design. So I'm going to give you, I'm going to talk about a particular incident that happened a year ago, or roughly 1.5 years ago in our company, which kind of I think narrates what I'm explaining here. All right, just give me a second. Okay. All right. Sorry for the disturbance. All right. This is a 2D drawing. This is a video. I'll just play that video. This is a making what is that? Stopgap animation of a time lapse video of one of our installations. Okay, I'm going to play this now. Okay, so you see these. You see the panels that we do here. These are like 4 feet cross 2.5 feet size panels. So a total wall that we get like this. And this is a design that we do in CAD, and then we convert it into tiles. We break it down into pieces, and then these tiles are custom designed. It is laser etched. Then it comes to our production team, and the production team consists of moss artists who basically composes the moss in it. So moss being a natural material, there's a lot of variation in it. It requires a certain sense of composition, certain sense of balance in how you put it, so that one, for the structural reasons, it stays years together. Okay, that has to stay intact for 5 to 7 years, just like that. Second is also for the aesthetic reasons. You have to get that edges correct. You have to get that form what you're intending as to translate. So for those reasons, there's a process that goes in, the multiple layers there, and different kind of adhesives and techniques that we use. So that's how, this is our standard production technique. Okay, this works pretty fine. We have been doing quite a good number of projects using this technique. Then came a client. This was Government of India. It's a subdivision called Railtel, which deals with the technology aspect of railways. This is an office. It's a very new office building opposite to AIIMS in New Delhi, where they were building a massive, luxurious office for all the IAS officers working in Government of India. And the chief administrator himself wanted moss, and he was quite impressed with what we were doing. So he asked us to come up with a design. We proposed something. It was all going very well, and in a final meeting, he said, "Yes, I'm ready to go ahead, do it." But the only condition being is we asked for around 3 weeks time, and he said we have to open up, we have to inaugurate ourselves in 10 days, so we have to do it in 10 days. Now, I mean, we calculate time. I mean, we have this policy of if we even get a penalty if we don't deliver on that 21st day. So we calculate time in such a way it is 99.9% we are on time. That's how we estimate the deliverable time. But still, I mean, so that means we have very less room to make it shorter. So 21 days we will have 1 day buffer. We can do it in 20 days. But 10 days was clearly impossible for us because you have to. There's a whole lot of process. There's a drying. There's a curing. And there's also a skilled work. So mostly in business, when you get an order like this, what they do is they go back and then they drastically hire more people, production staff, and then bring them in and quickly make it or run night shift. This is how they usually tackle problems like this, capacity issues in business. But in our case, it's slightly a product of very high skill. So we can't even do that. So we felt like we were in a kind of a pickle. But we just told the main officer there, saying that give me 2 days, let's go and figure out what we can do about it, and we'll get back to you. If we are confident we can do it in 10 days, we will take it up. Okay. We came back to our studio, we sat there. Those 2 days became very similar to how you feel 1 or 2 days before your jury. We were working throughout the night, trying to crack this. So we started critically looking at what in the overall process is taking time. And we removed all assumptions and we looked at each process. How much of skill is required? How much of composition? How much of what kind of skill is required at this stage? Can we replace it some other way? Can we rethink how we do the tile itself? These were the questions that were coming up in that 2 days of our brainstorming. So see what you see on the top. I'm showing a reference of a painting to give you a sense of what happened. So our process of making a tile is more like making a painting. Although the overall design is cut into tiles, each tile is still a part of the painting. So you see this is our production team sitting and they have to almost do it like a mural or a mural artist, how we will compose materials together. That's how the production happens in our office. So and this takes a lot of time, and also very few people in our production are equipped and skilled. We are skilling people, but it takes a bit of time to get that dexterity in it. So this is what was taking the most amount of time. Okay, we can fasten up everything else, but we can't speed up this. So then we looked at, okay, so basically we are creating something like a painting or an artwork, right? How can we de-skill it? How can we break it down into smaller aspects? Okay. Then we kind of looked at how a painting can be pixelated, right? So these are the 3 versions of the same painting broken down into pixels. Okay. So this painting looks like a lot of gradient, color, composition all put together. But then the third one, what you see over here, is basically small squares, each of a particular color put together. But if the square size is reasonably small, it acts as a pixel or a dot. And when you zoom out and see, it becomes, it resembles the painting closely. Then this we felt could be something that we can make use of. Okay, so we got quite excited by this direction and we started exploring it further. That's where we landed at this. So what you see is, okay, you take this color, you break this color. So the entire painting, don't tell them that this is the tile you need to compose. Just tell him we need 300 pixels or 300 units of this particular color. And we need to create a structure which is small enough like a pixel in which he can put the moss. He's no more composing moss in a big tile or a big panel. Right? And that's what came out, and we named it very aptly. I mean, just as how the concept is, we named it as moss pixels. So the product that you see here are moss pixels, tiny units of moss put up in a casing. And since we had, as I said, the entire project deliverable is 10 days, we need to do something very quick. So if we are doing this, we need to prototype in a day. Then we need to make that casing in 1 or 2 days, then start the production. All this was there. So we quickly did paper prototypes, converted into cardboard prototypes, techniques which requires less of molding and tooling timing. So we took flat papers, which can be die cut, die punched, which is your printing press. You have hundreds of such vendors. So if one guy is busy, you can go to the next guy. So there was this design application happening at each of those process. We know it has to be a pixel. We can do a vacuum casting of this, but we don't have time for vacuum casting of it. We can do an injection molded piece of it. We don't have time for injection molded piece of it. So that's how the overall, this whole stage of that 2+ days was running like this. And we ended up making our initial prototypes in a material polycarbonate, which looks like cardboard, but it's a very high, very waterproof and very high tensile material. Okay, and When we did this, we also realized one more drastic change. Now, what was considered very highly skilled has become very less skilled, and the casings add some, internal structural components which make sure you don't have to you don't have to take too much care of what kind of moss florets you put in. The casing will automatically take care, or there's a room for somebody else. Somebody can put in, and somebody, a supervisor, can rearrange it in such a way the aesthetics is maintained. Okay, so suddenly it opened us opened us to the possibility of hiring new people who are semi-skilled into our workforce. So for this project, we worked with a self-help group. We went to ladies who make all this craft materials, and we said, okay, this is what we have. Think of it like a craft, a woolen craft, or something that you knit. And we took them, and took all our stuff to them and trained them within a day. And within a day, they started picking it up. Okay, so what you see on the left is how the deliverable comes. Each one is a small pixel arranged in a flat box. It was super easy to ship. The complexity of the process became so simple with this one design intervention. And of course, we were given 10 days. We were fortunate enough, because of this method, we were able to deliver 1 day earlier. Okay, so this is our site where you see this whole shape, wavy pattern shape, what is there. We made all those pixels in different colors. We took it over there and we started putting it together like a Lego piece. So it's basically small Lego pieces coming together form a bigger puzzle as such. Okay. We were able to complete this project in a day. 1 day earlier. Client was happy. We were much more happier because now we know we can go back and completely change and ramp up the way we produce moss. And that's what happened. Production increased 5 times. We were able to detach the production completely from the customer order. See, this is very, very important from a inventory point of view, which affects the cash flow. If I get an order today, I need 4 weeks of lead time. So the moment I get the advance for that order, confirming that order, I need to block that much amount of raw material for that particular order. Right? And then I start to make it. And what will happen is our goods will be ready, but we are dealing with real estate clients, right? Buildings. And ours is an interior design product. So first of all, the building has to be ready. Everything else has to move smoothly. Then when the building is in the final phase, they will call us to do this work. Right? Now, most likely in the building phase in real estate, it's so common that projects get delayed by 1 month, 2 months. It's in months it gets delayed. So if we are ready with our finished goods for a particular design, but if the project is getting delayed by 2 months, that stock that we have, we cannot sell it to anybody else. And that stock has to be kept. We cannot sell it to anybody else because it's custom designed for that design. And it has to be kept till then. And somebody else will come and ask, I'll even pay extra, give me, I'm in an urgency. We can't even honor that order. So this is very similar to commissioning an artwork. That's how the model we were working. But whereas this pixel production completely removes that bottleneck for us. Now we just have to worry, okay, I need 2000 pixels of this dark green color, 2000 pixels of light green, and 2000 pixels of something. Okay, and you have a project, I can, in a CAD diagram, I can pixelate it, I can see how many pixels you need in each, and I can just take that stock and give it to you. So this detachment from production and customer order gave us immense flexibility. Okay, and we converted the super skilled level of manufacturing to semi-skilled. So now we have a freedom, like with our current capacity, we can produce say 60 square feet a day. And tomorrow, if there is a very big order, then we need to scale up. We can quickly go to hire people or quickly go to groups which can be very, very quickly trained to make this for us. And even from a design point of view, the real intervention is not breaking something into smaller pixel. Even when you break it, that individual unit has to be structurally stable, and that is our design IP. So we are not even, we are not very much worried about, oh, we take it to somebody else, will they copy and remove our uniqueness. That's very difficult. If they're doing it, then they deserve to be coexisting. So this was an eye-opening for us in terms of how design can influence a lot of other aspects of business for us. Okay, so today our production is completely delineated. We have most of our production happens in Bangalore, but if required, we have a secondary center where it can be produced. If in worst case we were thinking if we have to expand, we can go to other cities or two-tier cities where a lot of cost of operation is lower than Bangalore. Okay, so yes. And yeah, using that, then we use that for not just for that kind of organic shapes. It can be done in geometrical shapes. It can be done in as slabs. So almost 80-90% of our MOS production has moved to pixels today. And we also supply, because of that, we can supply to a lot of other vendors or competitors in the space. Okay, so this is the main story that I want to talk about. And now I can take questions. Then we can, I mean, there are a few extras or annexures that we can touch upon based on the questions or area of interest.
A very interesting presentation, Mani. Like how from a very technology kind of product you shifted and figured out how to work with very new kind of materials. So
Thank
very
you.
interesting. Now we'll ask people to have a conversation, and if you want to ask a question, you can do raise hand in the toolbox right side if you are on desktop, and if you are on mobile or tablet, you can type your questions in the chat box. We have
We have
Athira.
one question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. What is that? What should I look at the questions in the live chat, answer them, or you'll be moderating it?
I think Athira can ask the question.
Hello. Hi, Mani.
Hi, Atira. Yeah.
Yeah, this was really an eye opener. Like I am actually doing something in the background of this kind of fungi, algae, and stuff in my OTP, and yeah. So I was just actually having something not similar, but in a context where we have to have algae and fungi around us, and I was trying to do so many designs, and this was an inspiration for me. But I have a question like, how do you maintain or control the growth of the moss? Like, I'm finding it difficult to make something out of fungi which can be controlled, and so that's my real question here. Like, do you have a maintenance thing happening after the installation, or is it like it will not grow so much, or how is it like? I just wanted to know that.
Okay. Okay. So the moss that we use for interior design purposes, that goes through a process called vegetal stabilization, which is basically putting the moss in a dormant stage. So it doesn't grow any further, but it continues to purify the air. It continues to remove odor from the air. Those properties happen, but it doesn't grow any further than what you put it in.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question from Kavya. But she's not on PC, so she is asking what are some of your negative experiences in this whole journey, and what are the key learnings as an independent, as an entrepreneur in terms of relationship building.
No, that's a good question. I mean, Kavya, are you into? I mean, do you deal with a lot of vendors or ecosystem partners, something like that? I want to understand how this question is. I mean, what is the background of this question?
I think Kavya is like Kavya has a cafe in Ahmedabad, and it's also like a co-working space.
Nice.
So a lot of people go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of explains the question because I mean, we say popular. I mean, we refer to it saying that you are as good as your vendors or your partners, which is very, very true. More so true if you're a product space. So we had this. I showed you that fridge magnetic planter, right, which has a cube in it. Which is the whole product was designed to make it very simple to produce. It's just a cube with a test tube in it, and it's a magnet in it, and in the front it can be branded, etc. So it's a very at a very primitive product in that sense. It's a prototype which just got converted over a weekend into a product. We gave it for production. We had an order of say for a client around 1,500 pieces of that, and we gave it for a production with a very nice vendor. We gave a tech sheet which has 4 views of the product. A cube viewed in 4 sides. It's still a cube in all sides, but still. We gave an orthogonal view of it. We gave the projection of it. We gave a 3D model of it to give the sense that we are very particular of how the cube comes out. There is a small radii manipulation on the edge. So we gave the correct radii manipulation, centimeter, everything we gave. We thought he will miss in things like radii manipulation, some cube, something will go wrong. The cube is a 3 centimeter cube. We got 1500 cubes and we did a quality check. Around 600, 700 of the cube were not 3 centimeter cube. Another 300, 400 of the cube were not a cube at all. It was a trapezoid. It was a pyramidal of different shapes. Then there is a central hole in the center of the cube, which was not at the center for almost in hundreds of cubes. We couldn't even believe that the mistakes could be something on those lines, because he's making it in a machine, right? He's drilling it with a machine which has a jig. You can just drill it up and put it. How did he make a mistake in the hole? It's impossible. And then we realized that when you go to the factory, you realize the way it is produced, they have hundreds of orders, and you are a very small client for them in that big network. Right? Today, he will treat me with little more respect and importance, but when we started, we were nothing for him. So that we didn't factor in at all. We thought we can just give the tech spec and he will give us the right product. Right? So from there onwards, we realized if it is a very important order, one of our guys will go and stand there. Okay, he will stand there just to make sure whether the hole is coming in the center of it. Okay, in NID spoils you in that way, where you always have the best workshop people in NID. You tell them even in weird. See, I was very bad with my Hindi. Still I'm bad. But so in workshop, when I go to the workshop, I talk in very broken Hindi to him. Bhaiya, wo chahiye, like that, and then they still understand. And then they do it for you. But outside world is not like that. So we started creating, that's an experience. But the lesson is now we take so much of care. Even at a product level, we reduce some features which we know is very difficult to make for them. And whatever we give them, we make sure there is somebody which is supervising it. It's like having a automatic traffic signal and putting a constable next to it to supervise it, kind of stuff. You put somebody to supervise it. Then over a period of time, that relationship builds.
Next, we have a question from...
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess Kavya can't comment, join the chat. So we have a question from Meher Jangra.
Hi, Mani. So I had a question in relation to some technicalities of the business, I think. Because initially, as you said, you had a smart pot and that propagated into, a bigger picture, and you went into variations of what you could do with this company, right? So I was wondering, since the Moss Walls isn't a product which you can, it's not very commercial. It's kind of goes into the region of B2B, right? Like your companies are your clients basically. So how do you market something like that, and how do you get clients, and how do you propagate your company name, into the market? That was my question.
Nice. Okay, so the real estate space is very unorganized. It's a mix of both organized players and unorganized players in India. So we looked at the organized players, and being from a design background, our first option was to see who in the network whom can we influence. Okay, right. And when we started the Moss 3 years back, Moss was unheard of. Nobody has even seen Moss or worked with Moss. So we realized we'll have a tough challenge of making them adopt Moss. But we also, in interacting with all these stakeholders in these segments, we realized that there are one or two maverick architects still in India. Many are there, who has the history of introducing very new cutting edge products in Indian real estate space, building space. Right. So, for example, you might have seen that now glass building is the synonym for IT buildings, right? Right. There's a full glass cladding building. right? That's why was it not existing before? Okay, because glass at a very high altitude, it has to withstand all the air movement. It has to withstand object hitting on it. You need a very specially treated glass for it. It has to bend. It has to be malleable, flexible, all this. So that kind of glass was never made in India. Okay, it was not even made in Asia. It was primarily imported from Europe, and it was super expensive. So somebody based out of Ahmedabad was the first people who introduced that into the IT sector. And they kind of said it reduces your building finishing time by almost 30-40%, because you don't have to paint it, you don't have to maintain it. You can just wash it with a hose of water. So they used that as a means to introduce materials like this. So we got quite inspired by that. So, and we started looking at architects who can influence new products in the industry. So we would have spoken to, I think, hundreds of architects by now, and most of them through NID networks. So NID gives that kind of a very healthy starting point. You can go to a SEPT architect and tell I'm from NID, but they will understand who you are. Right? It gives you that first meeting call at least very easily. Then your product should be good to get them further down. Okay, so that's what we went. We went through all our networks of NID people who knows architects. Then through architects, they put it in their design. Okay, so there was a small extension. See, for example, you start looking at the small d design comes out there. When we went to architects, they liked it. They got a sample from us, and then they give it to junior architects, junior designers who compile the 3D visualization for a building, right? And since MOS was very new, in 3D repositories, we didn't have 3D models of MOS. Okay, and this has a whole texture. That's where the beauty comes in. So this guy has to put some junior architect to actually make a 3D model close-up of a MOS. Then he has to include it in his drawing. He thought that's a friction. Not many architects will do it. Okay, and then they will just put some plant in it. Then it won't come to us. It will go to a vertical garden guide.
Right.
Okay, so we decided, okay, what can we do? It's a matter of making 3D assets, right? So then we hired people, interns, to make those 3D visualizations for us. We developed a whole repository of 30-40 3D visualizations. Then we gave it as freebies to architects.
Okay.
We told them, hey, these are the things, use it in your assets, use it in your designs. Okay, and these guys will just put it, even they started putting moss in place where they don't want moss. They want some green cover, like a wallpaper. They'll put on moss because in the visualization it will look nice. Okay. So now we get inquiries where we know that that's the 3D moss that we did 2.5 years back. It comes as an inquiry for us in a PDF.
All right. Thank you.
We have Dhruv Damle. Dhruv?
Hey,
Hi.
Mani.
Hey, Dhruv.
So nice to see you after so many years, and
Yes,
great
boss.
to see how the little project that you started has grown so much. Congrats. So, well, before I ask you a question, here's the context. I totally remember you as, you know, the creative person, like the mad scientist on the campus, straight out of sci-fi movies. So, thinking of that knack that you always had with experimenting with stuff, and now thinking of Greenopia, the question I have for you is, how do you think of, or how do you practice the split between your business model being reactive versus proactive? So the examples you shared were wonderful, but they strike as like finding opportunities in problems that came up as examples of tight timeline or vendors not being so compliant with you. So do you invest like some resources, some time into creating things and then maybe handing those over, or experimenting with, you know, different stuff, like the step you had from not moving from, but expanding from gift articles to mass, I think was a big step. So do you have a kind of a lab like setup where you experiment with next future stuff like 5 years from now? Another angle I have why I asked this question is, with COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure you must have taken a hit with like supply chain and real estate is something that's being impacted with the pandemic. So there is a different way of how people now see as demand supply for the real estate. So just wondering how you think of all of this.
Very, very, very interesting question, Sadhu. Yeah. Okay, so for the first question, to be honest, if I had to put a number or percentage, I would say around 20% of what we do is proactive. 80% has been reactive so far. Okay, that that's because that's also because we want to make maintain that cash flow we want to maintain, we are hiring people, they are dependent on us to a reasonable extent, so we want to ensure that they have a job for a year at least with us, right? So that got a slight responsibility to do normal things, mundane things consistently. The proactive bit is happening right now a little bit. So what happens is, if I have to do the entire process again, the one thing which I might do differently is, we might get a little bit of funding. Okay, we started with the crowdfunding, which was bare enough for the product making. Okay, then we went into a mode where we have to sell to sustain. Right, and when we went into investor angle, we felt we don't know what market, what we are going to be, and it's going to be a whole game of playing to their whims and fancies. So we refrained from going there. But if I do it again, I might do it with select some people who understand how design related businesses work and take some funding from them. Even if it's a couple of lakhs, it would help us because we can spend 6 months without worrying about selling. Okay, that's the one. The proactive bit, the 20%, right now what we are doing is, since there is reasonable amount of cash flow which is consistently coming in, we are hiring good people to work with us on projects and freelance works. So we work with a lot of NID-GNs, both our batch, our juniors, our super seniors, etc. Where they are either working in some other firm, they want some side project. So we give them a brief, a very open-ended brief, and they work on it for X number of months, and then they come up. They don't have the pressure that we have, so they can think slightly more than what we have been thinking. So that's the technique right now we are using, which will connect to your next question also. Okay, so COVID, yes, COVID is a big problem, but also in real estate, what happens is the process of, the process is at least 2.5 years timeline. Okay, you want to complete, say for example, Microsoft was building their biggest headquarters in Bangalore. Okay, we were approached in 2015 to do something for that. That project got completed in 2017 end. Okay, so that's the timeline they usually have. So the COVID impact will have 1.5 years down the lane. Right now we are completing all the projects which started considerably back. Okay, so we are waiting and seeing how that impact is. That is one. Second thing is, from a COVID point of view, so all these designers who worked, so there's a very nice guy, Suraj from LAD, who worked with us. He created a series of very interesting products for home space, home decor space on the walls. Right, it's the same material, but there's a different client segment. Okay, and we were parking it because of the opportunity cost in it. If I have to build a online retail segment, I don't know the market yet. Right, I don't know how much to invest in it, how much time, money, etc. So we didn't launch it. All the product was ready, prototype was done, even samples were made, but we didn't launch it at all. It was in the pipeline, and COVID became the opportunity to launch it. Okay, then we thought, okay, chalega, now nobody is going to office, people are at home, then let's do frames for them at home. So we launched an online version of it, which is now slowly picking up. We are learning about it. Okay, so that's the
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi Dhruv, we'll again connect with you for a session in the future. You're doing very cool work these days.
Okay.
Now we have next question from Chaitanya in the chat. He's asking,
It's 12 o'clock.
Have you thought of doing any massive scale project where atmospheric balance can be shifted in places like isolated colonies, skyscrapers? Is that possible at all?
Possible. Yeah, we are doing a small. So we also do a little bit of research initiatives with companies working in similar space outside India. So we work with a company based out of Sweden who does something on similar lines. They are looking at not at skyscrapers, but they're looking at the interiors of buildings and controlling the internal climatic conditions of office buildings without using expensive ACs and temperature control systems. So what we do is we share some of our understanding of MOS, and then we jointly develop. Some development is very economical to do it in India, and they have more resources with universities and grants. So it kind of becomes a shared proposal for us. The IP generated will be shared between both them and us. So there's no answer. I mean, we don't know for definitive reasons, but yes, it's theoretically it's definitely possible.
Just to add to his question, like while you were working on this small scale interior project, you would have some thought like this will be my dream scale project. Do you have anything in mind like that?
Okay, this question is making me.
Okay, now you are thinking.
I mean, yeah, I won't say it's a. I mean, we don't have a dream project as such. It's not like we have to do this particular thing or something. But what we learn is okay. There's this company 3M. You might have many of you might have used, etc. So that's a company that we use as a dream space to be in. I'll explain why. That's a mining company. It's a mining corporation based out of US. They make this sanding blades, okay, which you use on a machine. There cannot be anything more commoditized than that. Okay, it's a simple sanding paper blade. Today they have around 3,000 products. It's not just the number of the products. Each product would be this. Okay, your popular stick-it notes is theirs. Post-it is a 3M brand. Right? They don't look at. They go very deep into the subject of that product. They understand, okay, if it is adhesives, if it is materials, if it is abrasives, what is it at a fundamental level? They look at product design like a science or a scientific experiment. Okay. And once when you kind of get a fundamental understanding of that product at that level, then the same product can be applied in aerospace, it can be applied in a windmill, it can be applied in simple stationery. Okay. We kind of find it very fascinating. Okay. So I won't call we have a dream space or a dream project to do, but we have a dream sense of what our company should be in next number of years. Okay, we want to be something like 3M in our space. In eco green buildings, Greenopia should be like a 3M.
We have question from Vaibhav. Vaibhav?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hi, Mani.
Hey, Vaibhav.
This was a really great presentation. First, and one thing that like that is going to stick with me, I guess, is the part where you explain also explained how the 3M thing work and how design as basis for creating any fundamental product, like design at every process of your organization, as you were mentioning. I just want to know uh, about more instances where you had to go a bit unconventional or like use design even for some activities which might have which conventionally people do through a business mindset. Like you explained, you had to recreate these 3D for to pitch to people. That was a different approach. So I just want to know more about the journey through a process of design.
Okay, I'll name some. See if that resonates. So we approach marketing with a very individual designer-centric mentality. Okay, so there have been clients, so architects or major influencers, etc. Do remember us because we would have done something way out of the line. I mean, in a positive way. Okay, touching that personal chord. Okay, so for example, we have all these green gifts, right? So after a meeting, we do extensive research, cyber stalking of the person that we go and meet, and we kind of find an interesting moment in their entire life. Okay, you look at their entire Facebook feed, we kind of sense, okay, this is, he likes this moment or he likes this, something like that. We take that out and we have done prints of that in our photo frame, a moss photo frame, and then we include a very sensible message in it and then send it to him. Okay, which we have often seen resulting in very he will be pleasantly surprised because he knows it's not a marketing stunt. You can't quickly go and do it. You have to spend 2-3 days to do it, right? So something like we were selling through Urban Ladder stores. So we had a chance meeting with the CEO of Urban Ladder. After the meeting, we sent him something from his very first startup days, and we said that probably what this happened to you that time is what is happening to us. We want you to be part of it, kind of a message. That kind of appealed to his emotions very powerfully, and then he immediately said, "Okay, guys, what do you want?" And I said, "Okay, give us a place to sell our stuff in your store." Then he gave us a place to. So kind of that personal, individual insight of that individual, what is important to him, what clicks for him, is something that we used to do. That is one. We are doing. I mean, this is extending on Drew's question. We are doing this is more from a reactive point of view, but we are doing a lot of training materials and instruction materials in depth. Okay, for all our production staff as well as for our marketing staff, where they kind of understand. So there's a popular reference to Sony. It's called Sony's Employee Handbook. Okay, it was a 60-page handbook, which Sony used to give it to all their MBA executives who were hired to kind of understand how Sony does things. Okay, this is post World War II. Even the way you write email, even the way you talk with colleagues, they had a Sony culture for everything. Okay, probably the corporate culture term came. It was the earliest reference to that. But that, if you get PDF of that online, you see that we find it very humane. It's not HR enforcing rules on their employees. It is really understanding how human beings behave. What inspires them? Why does he have to spend 10 hours a day with you 5 days a week? And then you ask for one more day. Why will he spend that extra time for you? Okay. Is it money? Is it a belonging? Is it ownership? Okay. These kind of things. Because my co-founder, Mayukini, comes from a lot of organizational design background. Okay. So we kind of started investing early on what will inspire people to stay with us, stick with us, and grow with us. So that material we converted into a lot of design illustrations and interactive stuff. I'm not sure whether I perfectly answered your question, but
No, actually that was like you did it. You did a very good job. Thank you. I get the point of empathy at each step. That is what I got, and that is the point of design.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
I have a question, Mani. Like your first product was like it has sensor and all these things. Then your second product was the self-sorting plant. I think it doesn't have any circuit or anything. So how difficult or easy was that shift? As in, generally, like if you are, like you are a new media designer, you would have that fascination with technology. So how did you take that call? You know that okay, people want this, and I will go for this.
Okay. The honest answer is it was very difficult. because not difficult in terms of any skill set adoption or something. Okay, that was easy. The mindset adoption is very difficult. Okay, having spent 3+ years on seeing how tech can infuse a lot of stuff, you immediately see one artificial engine there. You immediately see one rule engine, something which can do stuff. Okay, and yeah, so that was challenging from an identity point of view. So I used to ask this question like, okay, tomorrow if one LED guy from or a good designer, any good product designer comes out and he makes a product, he makes a competing product for Greenopia, how are we even different? How are we even special? Okay, that question was very difficult for me to answer for a very long time. Was some clarity. Some people kind of nudged and guided us in that without even knowing that they did. So there was a French designer who was visiting Jaga workspace. Okay, so initial days we were working from this co-working space called Jaga, which has a lot of interesting people coming down just for talks, interactions, etc. So this guy was a French designer who was involved in designing cars. He was working with Maserati. Then back in India, he was working with Mahindra to create their new Reva cars, etc. So he was quiet and he was taking a sabbatical to understand Indian landscape in design, etc. He came to us. We had a full one day. We spent a day with him where we were showing him a lot of products, etc. He was appreciative of many, but later in the casual chat, he just looked at me and he looked at us and he asked that, in a sense, you are trying to create an Apple kind of looking product. I mean, by Apple, I mean the aesthetics of white, clean lines, okay, refined shapes. And from a market in India, for a market in India, and you're making it in China. And then he looked at me, you're not Foxconn, you're not making it with Foxconn, you're making it with some random vendor in China. What are you trying to achieve? He just asked me that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting question to think about. Then so my dip project had craft exploration. So we had it's a sensor product only, but sensor product not in a ABS, not in a China manufactured, but crafted aesthetics. So it's my dip project. So I showed him some photographs and he said that, hey, this looks like Indian. This looks like an identity of it. Without even knowing what it is, he said, I don't know, it feels, it emotes that Indian. That kind of gave us a little bit of clarity. I mean, some nudge saying that, yeah, it's true, right? I mean, what am I trying to be like? It's not very authentic. I'm bringing that aesthetics because I know I can, I get inspired by Google Home or a Nest, seeing Nest product. I feel like, oh, we need to make a planter like Nest. Which is, yeah, so kind of start deviating towards more of that, what seems more authentic form. Okay, and on later part, we became more focused on what is really giving us market benefit, what is really giving us a product, all this business deliverable benefit rather than just in perception. Perception is important, but it's one of the things.
Right. Okay, we have a next question from Athira.
Yeah, hi Mani. So I had one more question. You already talked about how your first product, the buyers were mostly like they used to buy for guests because it's a premium thing. But may I ask, is this just for like the buyer's behavior of how they are buying it for the aesthetic or premium idea of this, or do they actually is interested about it? Huh? As in if the buyer are more interested towards the aesthetic and the idea of most being in their area, or do they actually get interested in the good part of it, like the clean atmosphere, filter air, so that kind of stuff?
It's both. For some, say when an architect is pushing it as a concept,
Yeah.
he brings in a biophilic design angle to it.
Mhm.
Okay, there are numbers of how much air it purifies, what benefits it creates, noise reduction, all that points he brings it up. Some architects just say that it looks very nice, do it.
So it gets from the architect point, not from the final buyer?
Oh yeah, so clients in the space, say for example, if say one of the recent projects is Barclays. So this Barclays is moving from moving into India. They're setting up a big headquarters. They have broad briefs. They have briefs like our workspace should be safe and nice for our employees, should be homely, should be friendly, should be green. So there's a word green there.
Yeah.
But the interpretation of green is very different. Some people just do some landscaping outside the office and keep quiet. Okay. Some architects push beyond that. They look at eco materials. They look at sustainable bricks as green. Okay. Some architects look at actual green in the space. So
Yeah, that's really good. So I was thinking about that moss beard. If you have seen that moss beard, which is edible also. Yeah, so they also kind of it's more towards the healthy part of it, and so that's why I was asking if the clients do think about that or just for the aesthetics. So yeah, thank you. Like, yeah.
we had surprisingly we had a startup client who just got funded, and they wanted to set up a full smart IoT sensor gardening system in their cafe for the employees to come and cut vegetables and eat it in their salad. Okay. We pitched saying that keep it as a demo. Don't tell them to cut and eat it. They will finish it off in a day. There is a duration for the plant to regrow, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Especially when it is, yeah.
Then we did a demo. We did a showcase for him. Showcase, and then we have some 2-3 planters there. It grows, IoT controlled, all that. But yeah, so they come up with all that variations.
It's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Like when you shared your story, like how you moved from one product to another product, you a couple of times mentioned that you made something which was getting good response, so you build on it. So generally, like a lot of people while doing business or having startup, they plan to have like they want to read the market of people first. So like people follow trends, they have a product strategy, and there is a long cycle of trying to predict what the world is like that. So how much of that you did, and what are your thoughts about it? Like there are other people who are like generally makers who just make things and then people buy it. So how much is like what are your thoughts about this?
Good question, Marco. So there's a famous blog you can Google called "Prostitution of Startups."
Okay.
Just Google it. Okay, so that when we read it, we just felt like, oh, this is us. This is us. We are being prostituted in the startup world. Why? It is the first 12 months or 10 months into the product. I have a folder in my laptop which is called presentation deck for investors, and I have like 30 versions of same presentation. Each version puts us different. One from 10 pieces will talk us like we are the Elon Musks of India. Some 10 pieces will be like we are looking at bottom of the pyramid and improving the farmer's health to a very high level. So based on whom we are talking, we used to change our entire vision, mission, everything. Okay. And that is encouraged. Okay, you have to talk like I'm the Uber of this. I'm this in the startup world. Okay.
Right.
It is extremely exhausting. It is extremely painful because after 10 things, you don't even know who you are. I'm thinking like, what am I? So that made us stop this whole projection business or vision setting business. First 1 year was like that, then we stopped it for good reason. Then we started looking. We've realized that if you take all feedback is not good feedback. That you have to take the right kind of feedback, and most of the time, the right kind of feedback comes from people who are really ready to buy your product. Okay, if I go to, say, for example, if I come to a very well-versed design network, so we have got feedback on a lot of products from stalwarts of NID alumni. Alumni, I'm talking about 15 years, 20 years elder to us. Okay. They have very good advice in terms of running the looking at as a product vision. None of them is irrelevant or bad in any way. But we also realize you have to the right feedback comes from people who are really ready to buy it by paying the money that you ask from them. Okay, because they are really vouching for it, and because they have paid the money, they have this obligation of coming and telling you that if it is shit, they will tell it it's shit on your face, and there's no honest feedback beyond that. Um, so we started moving towards that rather than looking at marketing reports, etc. Okay. We so all these things. What I'm saying is not like we stop doing everything else. We still look at Google search results ka report on. So in COVID time, everybody started growing things.
Yeah.
Okay. So people started searching how to grow tomatoes. Cherry tomato is one of the most searched keywords during the last 6 months. So we keep a tab on what is happening. We don't jump on it readily. We just jump with a little bit of caution now.
Right.
There is sorry.
Right.
People are looking at not even necessarily startups, but anything to do with commercial venture or building a product. Right. There's an Indian who did a research work in I think University of Pennsylvania or somewhere in US called effectuation. I'm just typing that here. Effectuation.
Sure.
Okay, so that there are a lot of papers on it, there are a lot of videos on it, etc. That term became quite popular. Then there's a TED talk on it, etc. That talks about how very early stage ventures decide things. Okay, so they say that, and if you read it, you will see most of them is design process or design evaluation, which will be very surprising to you. They are using management words for it, but they are essentially finding the leverage point. In an overall system, there will be 1 or 2 points where you can intervene in the design. All that we spoke about system design and so will come in different formats there. Okay, but she has very well articulated how young stage ventures make decisions, and she also says that that is relevant for a certain time. Time not defined by number of years, but time defined by your scale of operation. If you have grown to a certain stage, then these kind of decision making will not be relevant. You have to move to a different framework. But when you are early, when you are 20-member team, when you are working with new products, innovation, etc., this decision making is very relevant.
Right. Okay. And we have a question from Rohitash. I'm trying to invite him on stage. but not able to. Okay, his question is, it's great to see your interior design work with Moss. Are you thinking to expand it to outdoor spaces as well?
Yeah, that's a bigger market. So we are looking at that also. We are looking at, as I said, no maintenance green for outdoors, which is not yet convincing solutions have come up.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else from audience would like to just have a talk, share any thoughts? Yeah, I think I have one more question, Mani. Like, when you are designing with all these things, which are now like you are more also into industrial design. Like, I don't know if we call it industrial design or what kind of design, because there are a lot of people who are you are working with. You mentioned you work with some that community also, like women, group of women, and then you have some team also who is installing on site, and this whole idea of having to scale up when needed. So, is it like what are the challenges in doing that? Like have you already found out this sort of groups which you would like to collaborate with whenever you want, or like how do you find a trusted group? Because generally what happens is like if you want to collaborate with someone, there is someone who will say I have this skill, or one person would say I will do it, and that's the challenge, right? Like whether it will happen. So
Very,
how do
very.
you
Hmm. Very valid point. We have had bad experiences also in collaborating with people who are not really fit for us. I mean, from a temperament point of view. Mm, no, I would say we are only learning. Don't have a model figured out yet that I can confidently claim. Um, Only thing is, we were lucky to have some kind of mentors or people who are very good at what they do. Okay. So the person, I mean, a person who works with upliftment of bottom of the pyramid, socioeconomic sectors, introduced us to a couple of NGOs and self-help groups in Bangalore. Okay. So it's also an inflection point, right? I mean, places like I often refer to Jaga as that because what happens is these kind of places have a history of bringing certain kind of people together. Right? So Jaga as a co-working place has always brought a lot of mavericks, to popularly call it, but basically people who are following their passions in different ways into one place. So you meet them, the chances of you stumbling onto them increases drastically. Right? So we met somebody through Jaga who works with a lot of NGOs, and they create livelihoods for them. Right? And then we spoke to them, and then they said this, okay, probably you should try your production with them. We were not very hopeful of that because we felt like, see, ours is we really bother how you put a sticker on the box, right? We don't want the sticker to move 1 centimeter left. I mean, see, somebody's paying. So we felt like probably the segment may not understand the sensibilities that we are working with. Now, having seen how Indian vendors work, we had no hope that, or we felt like it's a lot of effort. But it kind of changed. What I referred is also true only, but there are segments within them. There are people who do have the skill sets to do things that we want if we can train them a little bit. Okay, so we identified a good women group, which is like it's run by a school where all the kids who are studying there, they don't have to pay the fees. The fees is sponsored by the school, by the trust, and then the moms of those kids are invited there to do some kind of handcraft work. Okay, so we would have never found them. They are not listed in Google. It's very difficult to find them. There's no single media article about them. Okay, but this person knew them. So when we explained that we need somebody slightly more skilled, done some refined hand work, then he said probably talk to them. Okay, and we saw, okay, that's they are already 80% of what we wanted, so it's only 20% that we need to train. Okay, so that worked. So maybe I think Ahmedabad is also that kind of a space where a lot of interesting things keeps happening. Okay, you can stumble into somebody very easily there. So like that, maybe there are 1 or 2 places in India where you can do that.
So basically, over the time, you would have people who would help you reaching to other interesting people, and that's how the trust actually works.
Yeah. Something which is bare minimum. We know we need a wood vendor, so that we build irrespective of it. We have 3, 4 vendors lined up. We give different orders to different vendors so that all of them are happy. All that business things we keep doing it. In addition to that, I have 2, 3 people who wants to become independent entrepreneurs in carpentry.
Hmm.
Okay, they are
Okay.
sons and next generation of existing carpenters who has extremely inherited amazing skill of carpentry in their hands, but then that's not paying them enough money. Okay, so those are like my test experiments. Okay, if I have a very interesting project, I'll take you to Delhi with me. Okay, I want this to be done overnight. Can you do this? And then they do it because it's that opportunity is very exciting for them. And as long as you can respect the task, so that we have that kind of 1 or 2 eccentric people in the network.
Nice, very interesting model, and kind of like how you work is that's very interesting. Okay, I think can take one more question from Kavya,
Yeah.
and it's almost like 1 hour 20 minutes, so that we'll keep it last. Kavya has asked, how are your products making users better humans in terms?
Better humans in what? Can
In
you
terms,
repeat that?
yeah. How are your products making users better humans in terms of buying choices they make? Like the choice of buying.
Interesting. For retail, it might be applicable, but we have not done enough of retail to comment completely. Mm, no, I think the only thing we do is so this is not like I mean we have maintained a very high level of honesty in selling. Okay, by honesty I mean if something doesn't work, we say it doesn't work. Okay, it's not for any big high value moral purpose. Okay, I'm being very honest there. It makes very good business sense. You tell somebody it doesn't work, and if he really wants it, he will say it's okay. It will work somehow. Now I'll get it. Okay, then he doesn't complain to you. It makes a lot of business sense to be honest, and that has come inside the process. So we very clearly say, this is what, this is what, this is what, this is what. That kind of gives the clarity and trust in the user. That's what I've seen. I don't know, Kavya, whether I'm addressing the point directly because we have done very less retail selling. We worked for 6 7 months with Urban Ladder. That was a retail period. Then afterwards, we have not done much of retail at all. Did I answer your question, or do you want to?
I think the question is very wide and Kavya can explain it, but she's not here. So no problem. Anyone else would like to share something or just come to the stage for conversation? You can click on raise hand. We'll invite you, or you can type your questions in chat. Okay. Fine. So I think Mani, we can conclude the session.
Okay.
It was really interesting, and Nalini would give like a closing note.
Hi, Mani.
Okay.
It was a really interesting session where you have exactly told us how to go about with a commercial venture uh, and how to optimize and tackle difficult deadlines, and in essence, how design can be used not for the show purpose but to understand the deeper sensibilities offered by business and other opportunities and to strike the right relationship with the other participants. So, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, that was really insightful. Okay, so we
Thank you,
conclude the
Bhagav. This
session.
is good initiative.
Thank you, Mani.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks a lot,
There
guys.
are so many icons floating on the screen. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bhagav. Thank you, Nali.
Bye.